Okay, thank you everyone for being here today. To those of you who are watching or re-watching the recording, welcome or welcome again. This recording will be up on our YouTube channel indefinitely, so it will be available to revisit sections that you missed or you wanted to listen to but didn't jot down notes for. We'll leave it there for some time. All right. We got an hour and a half. Let's make the best of it. As I said in the LinkedIn update, we approaching this a little bit differently. The history of the brand of Insane Prospecting has been that we focus on people's ways of being rather than ways of doing, because it is very much the person that sits behind the prospecting. And if you are, for example, of a mindset that doesn't carry you in the way that it needs to, you'll find it very difficult to prospect. So a lot of what we have traditionally done is build up the person and the person's capacity to prospect while giving them suggested strategies and then supporting them in the design and implementation of those strategies. But because this is a free webinar and it's relatively short, we are going to touch on some concepts and we will position this, but we're going to spend most of the time on a pick of strategies today. In other words, prospecting ideas, what they are, how to implement them, understanding that there are a ton of other possibilities. And there's so much that we can do, but we've got to start somewhere. All right, so that's what it's going to look like today. Just going to shuffle windows so I can keep my eye on the waiting room. David, I'm also going to make you a co-host of you, so you can help me with this, please. Okay. So the word prospecting came under the spotlight when the Insane Prospecting brand was launched 4 or 5 years ago, with some old hats in the industry going, oh, I don't like the word prospecting. And I actually got on calls with one in particular who's very influential in the industry. And we joked about it and we chatted about it. And he was on board with it to the point that he actually did a video with wearing a cap of the brand, which had the word prospect in. But the history of prospecting is really looking for gold. It was miners going out there 150 years ago and panning in rivers, which is where they take volumes of sand and shuffle it in a pan with water, and the smaller bits fall out, and the golden shiny bits shine, and whatever's left over are these nuggets. And that's really what prospecting in financial services or any industry is as well, as we're looking for these golden nuggets, which you could interpret as your ideal clients. So although you as financial advisors are not panning for clients, the word prospecting does certainly still hold true one way or another. I think it has a ring to it and it resonates with people, whether they like it or not. I think everyone does know what we're talking about when we say prospecting. I believe that prospecting does fall within the ambit of new business development. You could also expand on that and say you're acquiring new clients. It could even be that you're looking to expand business with existing clients and looking for ways to do that. Either way, it lends itself to growing and to an extent scaling the business. Scaling the business probably has a lot more to do with systems and processes, but within business development, prospecting for clients is a way of expanding the business in terms of turnover and profit. But what we are speaking about and what we've always spoken about within the prospecting world in which we operate is about getting in front of potential new clients. That's the point here. And this is where financial planners struggle, is to get in front of potential new clients. In most cases, once financial advisors are in front of a potential new client, and I'm not saying in front of like standing and facing off and not having said a word yet, but generally within that first meeting, they're okay. I do believe that there's a lot of learning and a lot of opportunity to be embraced within that first meeting. But where we focus in terms of prospecting is helping financial advisors to get in front of potential new clients. We know that financial advisors traditionally have struggled with prospecting. It is hard. And when I personally got into the industry in 2003, this is my story and I've been telling it for years, but it's good to position how difficult prospecting can be. I joined an agency, I was given 2 weeks of product training, and I was let loose and set free on my way to sell a bag of RAs and endowments, life and disability, and so on. I was not a natural salesman. I did not have a network, and I didn't have the gift of the gab. It was very difficult for me. So I naturally had a fear of rejection, like a lot of not just financial advisors, but salespeople do. It's difficult to be rejected. We take it personally. It's an attack on our person. And there's the metaphor of falling off and then having to get up and dust ourselves off. And then if you want to expand and merge the metaphors, it's getting back up on the horse. And it's very difficult for most people to do that when you've been rejected. It dents your ego. It takes the smile off your face. It weakens you. It literally takes energy away from you. So the fear of rejection is the biggest fear for most financial advisors, and it's the thing that gets in their way more than anything else, either as a result of or also parallel to is this lack of confidence. For many, many reasons. It could be the place from which they came. It could be the fact that they've never done it before. It could be that they've been rejected and that's affected their confidence. It could be that they have a history. It could be childhood programming. It could be trauma. There are so many reasons for people to not have confidence in sales and especially in prospecting. Okay. And if you want to add traditional strategies to that, like cold calling, that gives them even more reason to lack the confidence. So an important note to make over here is that confidence isn't a requirement for success, let alone prospecting. It's not a requirement. What's a requirement is that you do the work. Confidence is usually the result of doing the work. You can fake it till you make it, so you can adopt a strategy of trying to understand, for example, what it would be like to be confident and show up as that person. So that's another school of thought in your approach. But generally speaking, you got to do the work, and the result of that work will be confidence that goes on to feed more confidence. The other is that advisors simply don't know what to do. So if you think about me, 2003, 2 weeks of product training, let loose, I didn't know what to do. No, I was at Sage Life, not Liberty. So I didn't have that list of 100. I believe that list of 100 is a list of 250 now, which was and still is a really great start. Whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter. What Liberty always did is they gave a format, some kind of a template, and they said, write down 100 names and contact details and call those people. That's a great start, but not every financial advisor is within a business or has the support to know what to do when they kick off. So they're left to their own devices, often, especially in agency nowadays, if I may say, no insults to any business whatsoever, but given a laptop, given a desk, maybe given a phone, and they've got to do the work on their own. The more support, the better, especially if you're supported by people in a team, especially if you've got some seasoned people, if you've got some mentors around you, you can speak to people and ask what to do. The one camera I see on is the business of Consolidated. If anyone's looking, Colin Long, this is a significant business with some significant people. And there are a lot of mentor type of people in the business. So leaning on those with the experience, the skill, the ideas, the personalities that are willing, able, and desired to support is a great thing. It really helps financial advisors to step up and deal with how hard they find prospecting to be. And there are 14 other excuses that I came up with when developing prospecting content 4 or 5 years ago. 14 other excuses. So these are excuses that we come up with that get in our way of doing what we need to do. And by the way, all of those excuses can be bust very easily, whether conceptually or actually creating a shift or making some change in order to move through or around the excuses. So prospecting is indeed a way of being. A lot of salespeople, financial advisors are looking for those golden nuggets. They're looking to be told what to do. But even when told what to do, even if you find the piece of information that says if you want to build your book, You want to acquire new clients through the process of prospecting. This is the one and only thing that you need to do. They still won't do it. They still won't do it because it's hard and it requires work. And a lot of the success to moving through that is working on yourself before you work on the strategy. So prospecting is not just about what to do, it's about who you are and how you show up in front of prospective clients. I'm going to say that again. Prospecting is not just about what you need to do, it's about who you are and how you show up in front of prospective clients. And if you think about who you are as a person, and let's imagine an in-person situation. You're introduced to, or you somehow meet someone, you shake their hand, you engage in the conversation. It's very much about who you are. It's about what you say. It's about how you say it. It's about the impression that they have of you. It's about how you dress. It's about your haircut. It's about your fingernails, man or woman. It's about the tie if you're wearing one. It's about your posture. It's everything. So getting in front of someone with a strategy is fine, but once you're in front of them, it's very much about who you are. And there's value in working on who you are and improving how you are perceived and received by the person that you work so hard to get in front of. We self-sabotage in so many ways. So I said earlier that we get in our way, but positive intelligence talks about the 9 accomplice saboteurs. And there's a great test that you can do around this to give you a good idea. Just go to positiveintelligence.com. At the top, go to saboteurs and take the test. It's 10 minutes, 53 rapid fire questions. You'll be emailed a report on how you sabotage. But these are the 9, what they call accomplice saboteurs. These are the ways in which we get in our own way. The ways in which a situation like fear of rejection, or a client arguing something we say, or whatever it is, stops us from doing what we need to do. But even if you go into the deep understanding of what each one of these are, what's not listed and what you won't get from the test is what positive intelligence calls the master saboteur, which is the judge. And it's a judge of self, the judge of others, and the judge of situations and events. And if you truly and honestly look deeply within yourself, you'll see and you'll know that you can be and you are judgmental. Usually for most people of self, you're judgmental of yourself. You are your own worst judge. I'm not good enough. I don't have the gift of the gab. All of those reasons that stop us. I don't know what to do. We can come up with 100 of these reasons. For those that are new to financial planning, for those that are younger, for those that have less skill, there's more of this judge. For those that have been around the block, they could be 55 years old, they could have $1 billion under management, but they want fewer clients and they want more money. They have to prospect in a very, very different way. They might have to, I'm trying to think of a word other than dispose or purge. They might have to do something else with 25% or 75% of their clients and hold on to their best clients while trying to acquire more of their best clients to get their book from $1 billion to $2 billion to $3 billion. And they'll move into judgments of self as well. I'm too old. I haven't prospected in 30 years. I built my business cold calling, but I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to go to door. I used to be good at that, but that's not what's going to get me to where I want to be. It's what got me to where I am. The judge of others is something that comes up for a lot of people as well. It could be like, oh, like he doesn't deserve my business, or I don't want that person as a client anyway. In most cases, when we criticize the potential client for not coming on board, it's actually our fault. It could be our value proposition, our approach. It could be the impression we made. It could be our processes, our systems. It could be that we weren't as good as the other guy. So even though you might have a strategy to get in front of other people or potential new clients, getting in front of them is one thing. And once you're in front of them, you have to have something to offer, be it personal, be it professional, or be it truly business. And then the judge of situations or events is more environmental, like the office, your office, their office, the situation. It could be the economy. You're judging the economy. What got in the way? People don't have enough money to spend. There's so many financial advisors out there. COVID. COVID's a good example because although it feels so long ago, it's still having long-term effects on people. But some financial advisors scaled their business in COVID. Some went from regional to international. COVID, for the financial advisors that embraced the situation, one of the features of which was technology, built their businesses at such a scale. So the master saboteur doesn't do us any justice, but we have to build an awareness of it, and we've got to catch that judge. We've got to cut that judge off. We've got to find other ways of doing things and approaching. So leading up to this webinar today, I've been speaking about 101 prospecting ideas, and I've been speaking about a further 70, which takes us to 171. The story behind that is that when the Insane Prospecting course, the online course for financial advisors was launched, we put forward 101 strategies. And the reason for that, the reason for 101, well, it sounds better than 99 or 100, and it's 101, which is like education. So it had a ring to it. But it was about the demonstration of the fact that there are so many ways in which you can get in front of potential new clients. But what we also did is, in part of an initial 21 module course, is in module 2, we said, here are 101 ways right away. Like, if this is the thing that you want, here they are. Because I don't want you skipping through modules or obsessing with other stuff or ignoring things in order to get to the 101 ways. Here they are. Module 1 is welcome. Module 2 is here are 101 ways, because we just want to get this off the table. Now that you've got 101 ways across 15 different categories, now let's talk about why nothing will change for you. Because you could pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 great ideas from these 101 or 171. I'll explain the difference now. But you still have to do the work. And that's the difficult part. That's where people get stuck. You could go to a mentor in the business, or you could collaborate with business partners, and you could come up with the prospecting strategy. You still have to develop it. You still have to implement it. You still have to follow up on it. It still requires hard work. The 70 was, we ran a webinar. It doesn't exist anymore, but we ran a webinar for a year and a half. And during that year and a half, in fact, I think it was in the first 9 months of that, we came up with an additional 70. That's how we got to 171. So the exercise that we do, one way or another, could be that we're working directly with a business. It could be online. It could be in person. It could be that we're running a full-day boot camp, a mini boot camp. But we always do this exercise, is we take the group, we put them around the table, so to speak, and we say, come up with, say, let's imagine there are 10 people in the room. Come up with 2 things each that you've thought about doing, but you haven't done. 10 things each that you've thought about doing, but you haven't done. Then come up with 10 things each that you've done, whether or not it's worked. It doesn't matter. So now what we've got is we've got 10 people with 4 things each. That's 40 different ideas, and we don't repeat. So if someone says the same thing, we just leave it out because it's on the board already. That's 40 different ideas. And depending on the size of the group, if it's 10 people, it's usually 20, 25 minutes that we do this in. The smaller group, I worked with a group of 8 people a few weeks ago. We had 15 minutes. We came up with, if I remember correctly, 25 ideas in 8 minutes. And that's the point. That's why we do this exercise, is that we are not short of ideas. But most financial advisors think that they don't know what to do. It's not about the what. The what is easy. We could spend the next 5 minutes going, oh, what can we do? I can't see how many people are on the call now, but between every person on the call, we could come up with 5 amazing ideas. What will change? In most cases, nothing. Nothing will change. Why? Because you still have to implement the idea. And that's the point, is people get stuck at implementation because implementation is work and we're too busy to do the work. Busyness is a diagnosable pathology. Why? Because people fill time. They fill time with things that are easier, like admin. I'm so busy doing admin. I'm so busy doing everything except the one thing I need to be doing, which is going out there and getting new clients. So I hide behind my laptop. I hide behind my desk. All right. Point made. I know it's strong, but, and it may not apply to everyone, but generally speaking, that's the phenomenon that we find in the industry and other industries. All right. So let's not waste any time. Let's play. Let's play with this. Let's pick from the 101 and let's have some fun with it. This is random, no particular order, no reason for putting these 10 up here today. No reason whatsoever. It was really, Like I know the 101 in my mind, one way or another. So I was just thinking, like, what comes to mind first? And I jotted them down and then I put them in the PowerPoint. So this is it. Okay. The first is to be a thought leader. Everyone see the presentation still? You just give me a thumbs up at consolidated because your camera's on. Yeah, you still see the presentation. Okay. So be a thought leader. The great thing about the thought leadership strategy is that we have so many great examples of how being a thought leader resulted in new business development and business growth and business expansion. So the idea here is to develop opinion. And this is the thing is you can be a very, very skilled financial advisor. But if you want to be a thought leader, you have to take that skill and merge it with what's going on in the world and develop opinion around the world of financial planning. You could even expand that to like the world of human psychology or retirement and make it meaningful to people because we know that what gets people's attention is if you start to solve their problems. And from a social media and or media perspective, the piece of advice that we've had for forever is be interesting. And thought leadership is interesting. If you're leading thought, you by virtue of how you're being is interesting. It often requires a piece or a number of pieces of research or ongoing research because to be a thought leader, you can make stuff up for sure. I mean, you can lean on your skills and experience and you can make stuff up. But to have a protracted or an ongoing approach to this, you really have to do research, even if research is light, even if research is reading The Economist every week or delving deep into the tax and law of estate planning, whatever it is for you, you may be a specialist or a generalist, whatever it is, whatever place you come from when it has everything to do with financial planning, that's your research. You need to stay on top of the game. You need to stay ahead of the trend or trends. So you can't be a laggard. If something's new in your business, you want to be an early adopter. If you're an early adopter of things into your business, you're building your business, you want to be an early creator in the world of communication when it comes to financial planning. As a result of doing all of this, just keeping up. Let's imagine you, for example, made a commitment of writing an article for the business, a blog for the business every single week. You would have to keep up, and you would therefore, as a result, improve your knowledge. You would probably enhance your skill or have to enhance your skill in order to do that. The result is that you will be building and you will continue to build your reputation. And even better than that, you will enhance your credibility. And that is so, so important because when prospective clients Google you, you're going to come up. Where do you come up first nowadays when people Google you? You come up on LinkedIn. It's always LinkedIn. So then they go to your LinkedIn profile and then they have a look. So first of all, make sure your profile is smart, like, from the picture to the description, the role, but also the profile. I don't know what they call it, the 2,000 words where you talk about yourself, your experience. And there are lots of wizards and lots of gurus out there that can help you do this. You can just you can use ChatGPT. Just don't make it sound like you used ChatGPT. And LinkedIn is a great place to showcase your thought leadership on an ongoing on an ongoing basis in many ways. To post from written posts to videos to infographics. A lot of people are doing that very nicely. To writing articles, and then you can share the LinkedIn one elsewhere. You can also do it as a blog on your website and put that on LinkedIn. You know all the strategies. Terence, he's not here today, and I won't give his surname. He probably won't mind, but I'll just say Terence. He's a financial planner that a lot of people know. He's always had a great business, but in COVID, during lockdowns and everything that followed the lockdowns, when things were still tough and we were wearing masks and people were confused, and it was probably tougher than ever to onboard more new clients, he exponentially grew his business through the commitment of posting on then Twitter every single day. That was his commitment. Post on Twitter every single day, something about financial planning. That was his strategy. That's what his thought leadership was, and that's what grew his business. There was a guy called Nick Haralampus. I say was because he's not doing what he did anymore. So Nick, I actually met Nick socially years before this, but if I remember correctly, he studied journalism at Rhodes. So he was a journalist and he was a copywriter. Like he did a lot of cool stuff. I actually don't know what he was doing at the beginning of COVID, but during COVID lockdown, he put some books up on a plank on his bed, and he put something behind him on the wall. But he worked from his bedroom in a small apartment, and his commitment was, I am going to post on LinkedIn every single day, and he did every single day. At least once he posted on LinkedIn, and he wrote a book. You may have heard of it during that time called Side Hustle, because he was of the opinion then that everybody needs a side hustle, to the extent that he was picked up by 702 and he had a weekly slot midday on 702. It was about half an hour where he chatted with the host about all things business. It boosted him to fame. Nick came out of nowhere in COVID because he was a thought leader, very opinionated, respectful and professional, but didn't really care about what people thought about him in a good way, meaning that he just put his thoughts out there, often controversial, but again, still professional. Get into groups, get into channels on LinkedIn, wherever. If you have something to say, if you have value to add, it's a lot of work. But what a lot of people have done is they've gone into, for example, Facebook groups, maybe groups of interest. If you have teenage children, it might be a teenage child parenting group. And they would go through the groups, and they would contribute because that would build their reputation as a person. People would wonder who they are because they're contributors. But if there was anything that had anything to do with financial planning, money, anything to do with that, then they were in this group. It was like being part of an in-person social group where they would say, hey, I can help you with that. I'm a financial planner. There was another strategy within that. And one more within this is building a single relationship with a media person of influence, for example. So that, I believe, is something Nick did very well, is he knew a producer at 702. So if you are a thought leader, if you are developing and putting opinion out there, meet an editor of a magazine that represents your ideal client base, probably a professional publication. Meet a producer of a radio station, of a particular show that you might like to contribute to at a radio station. Meet key people through your thought leadership. But you're going to have to develop the thought leadership first and then reach out so that you have the reputation and you have the credibility. Okay. Any questions on thought leadership? David, you'll keep your eye on the chat and just shout. I don't have the chat open. What I'm going to try. Okay, thanks. What I'm going to try and do with each one of these is indirectly, one way or another, is talk about the what and the how. So what do I mean when I say clients that said no? We'll discuss that, and then I'll go into the how. Okay. So the second strategy is something that I've never seen come up anywhere else. But when you hear it, it just makes sense, especially for those that have been in the industry a long time, but even for those that have been in the industry for a shorter time. If this is day one, then you probably want to, just letting someone in. If this is day one, then maybe this is not the strategy for you. But if this is day 364, or if this is day 10,962, then this could be for you. Over time, you have had a number of clients that said no, right? One way or another, you've prospected, you've met people, you've networked, you've pitched people to be a client of yours, and they've said no, or they've just disappeared. But what you have are names, numbers, email addresses. You may even have files. You may even have history. You may even have done a financial plan. You may even have provided them with a small piece of advice. Maybe it's a single need, but you have something. You know that if you look at your names, whether they're names in your phone, client folders, whatever it is, there are more names than there are active clients. And that is a gold mine. I haven't thought about it like this before, but we started with panning for gold, didn't we? Now, if you drive around Joburg, you'll see these mine dumps that have been refined. So must have been 40, 50 years ago with newer technology. The mining companies went to the old gold mine dumps and started refining them because the technology of the past, 150 years ago, when miners were going into tunnels and chiseling away, they may have missed gold. They may have missed gold. You may have missed gold with potential clients. So it's worth going back to those clients that said no and trying them again. They are warm leads. They're not cold. You're not cold calling. They are warm leads because you're calling them up and greeting them as someone you know. You have, because it's been time, even if it's been a few months, it doesn't matter. You have increased knowledge. You probably have enhanced or new skills. You, as a financial planner, because of time, lots of time or short time, have new skills. You have so much more value to add now than when you did before. And you probably have an evolved EQ because we mature over time. Even if it's a year, we mature. So go back to the pipeline, check the old emails, the client files, like check all of that. Even if you have your little A5 notebooks in which you scribble down things. If you have a paraplanner and you sent an email through with your scribbled, handwritten client meeting notes, go back, find whatever you can, and then call the client up. Call the client up. Contextualize the call. That's important because they said no, disappeared, or ignored you. So you got to contextualize the call. And you'll contextualize it in whatever way you want. So this is ultimately your reason for calling. Bring the client or the potential client that said no before into the new enhanced process or method or value proposition, your new offer. Maybe it is even a product enhancement. You know, I'm not a big fan because it's not financial planning, but it's an in. It's an in. And maybe they have part of the implementation of the advice is a product that has been enhanced. So you could say things like last year when we spoke, or we as XYZ financial planning have a new approach to our financial planning process. I just thought I'd get in touch and share or update or let you know. You know, very soft touch retouches like that. And then you could invite them to something. It could be to a meeting. It could be to an event that you're having. It could be that you as a business are hosting something for existing clients and you thought it would be something that would interest them. So even client appreciation events for existing clients, you can invite prospects to. You can even invite the people that said no before. Look for a hook. Don't just phone them up out of the blue and go, hey, you know, think about it before. Just like you would call a fresh prospect, a cold call, if we're talking about cold calls, you want to do some research on the person you're calling. In this case, your research is of the historical touch points. And then you want to use that as a hook so that the warm call is also a personable call. Next. And guys, you are welcome to come in with ideas, questions. I am keeping my eye on the time. If we start running out of time, I'll speed up or I'll leave stuff out. But I'll keep us to the time. All right. If you don't want to speak up, go to the chat. David's keeping his eye on the chat. Start a group. Just a heads up, the next one is join a group. So if you don't want to start a group, join a group. But let's talk about starting a group. It's where you and others have something in common, a common purpose, a common interest. Could be social business, could be of the community, could be anything. But it's something that brings people together. There has to be a reason for a group. It could be in person, it could be virtual, could be hybrid, could be formal, it could be casual, could be anything. But the point is that it gets you in front of people. And if you remember what I said at the beginning, is that the way we look at prospecting is that it's about getting in front of potential new clients. So almost every strategy that you come up with is about getting you in front of a potential new client or potential new clients, because there's a one-to-many approach as well. Because getting in front of potential new clients gives you a platform, even if that platform is simply conversation. It showcases who you are as a person and or as a professional. So don't be a schmuck, right? If you create a group to get in front of people, then show up in the way that you want to be received. Because even if you don't say a single word about financial planning, it's about how people talk about you when you leave the room. You know, he's such a good guy. Like he's really professional. I wonder what he does for a living. Or I like how he shows up as a leader, or how he was creative enough to begin this group and resourceful enough to bring people into this group and grow it. So you'll start a group based on something in common. You'll show up as the person you want to be. And as a result, you'll connect with people. And through that, they will learn what you do. Because inevitably, you're going to have a conversation where you ask them or they ask you, what do you do for a living? It's inevitable. If they don't ask you, then ask them and then they'll reciprocate because that's kind of the thing to do. So one way or another, you will share with them that you are a financial planner. And you can build on your value prop there a little bit of an elevator pitch without pushing because it could be an interest group. So I'm a financial planner. I work for XYZ Financial Planning, or I'm a co-founder of XYZ Financial Planning. We specialize in estate planning. That's it. That is it. And that's a differentiator. Why? Because I don't sell insurance and I'm different because we do annual reviews. Okay. So maybe I'll give you some examples around starting a group as well. Community is a great thing, especially within neighborhoods. So you've got neighborhood watch, you've got gated communities, you've got estates, and there are very few communities now that don't have WhatsApp groups. There could even be a street with a WhatsApp group. And then within the community, there are a lot of things that you could do. There could be charitable causes, there could be cleanups. All of these are strategies on their own. So they're standalone strategies, but they could also be sub-strategies. I was in the Drakensberg last year, and this guy arrived with his family in a VW camper van. You know, the old camper vans, the collectibles. And this thing had been beautifully restored and modified. And I was chatting to him, and he was telling me that there's this VW camper van community, and there's a huge Facebook group, and they get together in a field with their camper vans, and there are mechanics and collectors and enthusiasts. Who knew, right? Who knew this guy was part of that community? No idea what he did for a living, but he could be a financial planner. What a way to meet people. Kids. We'll go to kids later. Is kids one of the strategies today? Let me remind. Yeah, kids are one of the strategies. So we'll go to kids later. But as someone with kids, it just opens up a lot of networking opportunities. All right. So if you don't want to start a group, join a group. Again, it's got to be something that appeals to you or attracts or interests you. Because if you're not doing it for other people, you're looking for something that works for you. So pick a category. If you're a stamp collector, go look for a group of stamp collectors. I don't know if that's a thing anymore. Maybe they're worth more now. I don't know. Look for communities, speak to group leaders. I mean, that's networking in and of itself, right? If you speak to group leaders, because even if you don't join their group, you've expressed an interest to someone in joining their group. So you got in front of them. Should you join the group, speak to all of the members of the group. Get to know everyone en masse, one to many, one to one, however you want to do it. If it truly interests you, like join the group and commit to the group. Because there's one thing joining a group and staying superficial, but there's another deep depth to it when you join a group and you immerse yourself in the group. It becomes a community, and the referrals and the opportunities become expansive. And maybe one other piece of advice within a group is seek a leadership position in the group, because then you're up front and center with everyone and showcasing yourself. Again, it's not about ego or vanity. It's just about getting in front of people and having them get to know you. And once again, you know, the response when you leave the room is, who is that guy? Who is that woman? Wow, like they're impressive. I wonder what they do for a living. Okay, number 5, networking organizations. Speaking of groups, there are a number of networking organizations there. And If you don't know and you begin to seek, you will find more than you expected. The obvious one, well, maybe I'm making an assumption here, but to me, the obvious one is BNI, Business Network International. I was a member of BNI for a year um, for the coaching business. It didn't work for me. It didn't work for me, but I'll tell you who it did work for: the financial planner. The financial planner built his business through BNI. A client of mine was unavailable on Tuesday mornings every single week until 11 o'clock because she was at her BNI breakfast. So if you don't know what BNI is, look it up. I think it's bni.org.com or I don't know, something like that. Business Network International. So that's the obvious one. What some others are like Suits and Sneakers. Civitas is a new one. Well, it's new to me. It's been around for a few years. It's a South African networking organization. But a friend of mine who was part of it has actually emigrated to Mauritius, and he's now partnered with Civitas to launch Civitas Global. So they mean business. So have a look at that. Chambers of commerce, and so on and so on. If you think about it and you research, you will find. So they're also, and these are strategies on their on standalone strategies as well, but professional bodies, associations, and councils could be subcategories of networking organizations. There are ancillary benefits to this as well, is that if you have, like BNI has a weekly breakfast, some of the chapters have a lunch. And by the way, there's several chapters in every town in the country. So you'll always find one. Heads up, if you want BNI, most chapters have a financial advisor, but it's worth asking around. Um, the ancillary benefits of that, for example, BNI, you got to stand up, and depending on the size of the group, you you got to tell everyone who you are and what you do for 30, 45, or 60 seconds. So it gives you an opportunity to practice your elevator pitch, which is fueled by a value prop that sits in the background. Um, it gives you an opportunity to speak in front of people and practice all of this because it's every single week, and it's this that will help you in front of potential new clients. Because when you meet someone at a wedding and they go, "Hey, what do you do?" and you go, "I'm a financial advisor," and they go, "That's very interesting. Tell me more." You want to be ready for that, and one of the best ways of being ready is to be practiced. The spin-offs of these are also like associations within those networks and also the wider network. So let's use BNI as an example once again, is you may be part of one chapter, but you can go anywhere in the country. In fact, you can go anywhere in the world, and you can um, visit a BNI chapter breakfast or lunch or whatever it is, anywhere in the world. So if you live in Durban and you're part of BNI and you go to Benoni in Johannesburg for business, and because you got a bunch of clients there, you would reach out to BNI, that particular chapter, and there could be a few, and you could go and visit if they don't have financial advisors in their chapters. All right, exactly the same with chambers of commerce and other networking organizations. Also, the opportunity for introductions and referrals and invitations to other things. You want to be invited. If you're that person, you will be invited to things. All right. One to many. And I put slash webinar because I think the one to many strategy nowadays is a webinar strategy. It used to be putting 100 people in a room. And many people used to do this. And some still do. I remember, speaking of Consolidated Durban, Colin, you might remember Jessica used to invite people to a coffee at the coffee shop in your office park. This is going way back.
Yeah, I remember that, Jason. I'm surprised you remember it.
Yeah, who's Jessica? But I remember it. Come have a free. Come have
I
a free.
attended one of those.
Really?
You did.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Amazing.
I don't remember Jessica.
Hope the
But
coffee
the
was
coffee
good.
was good.
So, I remember it because it was real. And her strategy was, I'll buy you guys a coffee. It cost her what? Back then, maybe 18 Rand a coffee. Come have a coffee and listen to me talk about Consolidated and what we do for a living. That was it. So the premise between or behind the one to many strategy is, let's look at how it used to work. You rent a room at a boutique hotel. You put 100 people in that room and you feed them and you quench their thirst, canapes and cocktails. And they listen to you talk, a guest speaker talk, whatever it is. Somewhere within that hour, you present your value proposition. Somewhere within that. What you've effectively done is you've had that first meeting with 100 people. The alternative is you have 100 first meetings with 100 people. So you've now done 1% of the work. It's taken you 1% of the time. Then you pick off from those 100, whether it be follow-up phone calls, emails, them calling you, them leaving a note, or maybe it's a survey afterwards, whatever it is, them saying, we're very interested. We liked what you said. We're very interested. Please, will you give us a call? Nowadays, there's a Calendly link or whatever it is. So you've done the first piece times 100. So now you just go and you set those one-to-one meetings. So where your strategy may be, former strategy may have been, I'm going to attend weddings and meet people. And you meet 2 people at this wedding and 2 people at that wedding. Some people attend funerals, believe it or not. It's 2 people here, 3 people there. Here you're doing a large number of people. Traditionally, they try to put 100 people in the room. The then one-to-one meeting is familiarity. They already know what you do. They know who you are, your business, what you do, how you do it, why you do it. Maybe they even know how you charge. So you move into SLA, you move into agreement, you move into next steps very quickly. So the one-to-many strategy is a broader blanket approach, but it is so successful in casting a net wide. So the way we do it nowadays is really by webinar. It doesn't cost you money, doesn't feed anyone or quench anyone's thirst. You can put fewer people on and not have to pay for the venue, or you can put loads more people on. Where you were putting 30 people in a room, you can put 3,000 people in a room, depending on the account you have with Teams or Zoom. But it's easy and you can hold them often. So if I were to narrow that concept down and take it to how do we do it? I remember listening to a guy that was a facilitator of Tony Robbins' seminars. I think he still works for him. But he was one of the early facilitators, and he was telling a story about Tony Robbins' first public, in inverted commas, presentation. When he was young, he was 20-something years old. And he said that there were 6 people in the room and they were all family members of Tony Robbins. And the reason I tell the story is because you just got to start. Just start somewhere. I had no idea how many people would come to this. We've never done a free webinar on prospecting before. If it was one person, we would have gone ahead. You see, yesterday someone said like it's at capacity. So I had to lift the limit on this. Just start. How do you start? You pick a date. You pick a date. Then you book that date. You decide on your platform or your medium or interface, whether it's Zoom, Teams, Google Meet, whatever it is. And then you start to design it. Just a few things like what are we going to talk about? How long is it? What are the themes? It could be, it's an hour. We're going to divide into 3 times 20 minutes. It's going to be me introducing. We're going to bring in an economist or a comedian, so it's not so serious. Could be anything. And then we're going to talk about the economy, and then I'm going to talk about the retirement trends, like because we specialize in retirement, what's happening in the world of retirement, what is the psychology of people, whatever it is for you. 3 pieces of advice. Don't make it about product, don't make it about costs, and don't make it about performance, because no one cares. If they got money with you, they care, but even then, your review meetings are not about that. You will touch on it, but they're around goals and circumstances. They always are. So if you choose to do this, add value, understand what is important to your clients and make it about that. So it could be the economy, it could be politics, it could be, but speak to them, speak about what keeps them awake at night, speak about what they speak about in their household, speak about their fears. Okay. Then send out the invites. Send the invites to existing clients. Send it to the list of people that said no. Send it to friends and family. Speak about it when you're playing golf. It's such a great way. You want to play golf to meet people, but you don't want to pitch them on the golf course. You just go, hey guys, we're running this thing next week. It's specifically on golden visas. Let me know if you're interested. I'll send you a link. Casual. Okay. What's next? Networking with your clients. Um, Maybe I'll start this with an example. I'm working with someone now that has a deep interest in expanding his business. He's got a very successful business, but he's got a new department in the business and he wants to build that department. So, although he's at the head of the business, he wants to do it himself. So, his two things are golf and paddle. And he wants to play more golf and he wants to play more paddle, but he doesn't want to pitch people on the paddle court to the golf course. So, and he's doing this already. So what he's doing, Jeanette, you sound like a man.
It's just mini tennis.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, that was just a little bit loud, but I see you muted. Thank you. So what he's done is I forget what I think the first one is paddle. So what he's done is he's taken two people that he knows who he would like to do business with, but he also knows that they would very possibly do business with each other. And he's organized paddle games between the three of them, and there's a fourth person. He's also done something similar with golf. But the other thing he's doing with golf is he's just joining four balls. We're starting a four ball at certain strategic times where other people will come and join him. So the great thing about a four ball that's not full is that you just have people come on board and you meet them. Okay, and this is a significant business. So the reason I write network with your clients is that there's huge value in networking your clients, introducing clients to one another, because you're the Cupid that put them together. And you'll always be remembered to be that person. And it's amazing how people pay it forward or they reciprocate or whatever it may be. It is incredible. You don't even have to have a deeply considered strategy around this. You just need to do it, because when you give, you get back. And then networking with your clients is involving yourself with them, which is inviting them to lunches or breakfasts or things. You know, at HSBC, we were very, very good with this, how we would invite clients to a show at the theater, and then we would have like eats and drinks before, and we would tell them to bring a friend, but we would never word it like that. We'd never say bring a friend who you think could be a potential client. We got a copywriter to word it a lot better than that. But there's big value in both networking your clients and networking with your clients. All right, I'm going to try and be quick on this one, because this in itself is quite an in-depth strategy. I wrote an article on this about 7 or 8 years ago, and it holds even stronger now. And the reason it holds stronger is because we have the digital world in which to land this strategy. So it's less complicated. The idea behind this is that you're doing review meetings with your clients anyway. So once a year at least, you're getting together with your clients and you are reviewing their goals, their dreams, their circumstances. And yes, you're reviewing their investment performance if you have to. But something that financial advisors and clients don't think about is, in the event of their death or disability or illness, there will be affected people. Or let me say it in proper English, there will be people that will be affected. If your client dies, there will be people that will be affected. And in the winding up of the estate, these people will need to be involved. They will need to be informed. They will get money, or they won't get money, or they will have to pay tax on their money. When it comes to business, shifts will have to happen, share transfer will have to happen, new people will have to be brought in, or people will have to be moved around. So the advice in terms of a prospecting strategy is begin by having the affected parties principal conversation in your review meeting with your client by saying, in the event of your death, there are a number of people that will be affected, and this is how they will be affected. The next thing is that you will suggest to them that you have a second meeting in which they invite all of these people. So we used to do it in two ways. Before I wrote the article, I trialed this with a number of financial advisors in two ways: the meeting room or boardroom in their office, and the second way was a little bit more fancy, like a wine cellar, and we did wine and stuff and dinners, especially for the wealthier clients. They paid for it, and they worked. Both worked. Now we can do it over Zoom. Okay, so you suggest to your clients that whoever will be affected by their death, disability, or illness, and I'm just using those three as an example because they're typical, should be brought into a meeting. And then you and your client plan the meeting. And the meeting has the agenda of, this is why we're here. This is, your client will introduce, or you will introduce, this is why we're here. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is the agenda. And you don't make it about you. That's the important thing. You don't make it about you. You entirely make it about your client's financial planning. So the thing that comes up so commonly and typically and strongly in these types of conversations is that the kids think they're going to inherit, but they can't inherit the house because they don't have money to pay the tax on the house. 20% of the cost of the house. Your financial planners, you know what I'm talking about. And it's these types of conversations that need to be had. Maybe the client has life insurance to pay the estate duty. Great. And again, that's the conversation that needs to be had. But the point of doing this is that you get in front of new people and you showcase, for lack of a better description, yourself as the ultimate professional in this industry we call financial planning. They probably all have financial advisors. They most likely do. But does their financial advisor do this? Has their financial advisor ever done this? Does he talk about affected parties? Does he bring related people, family or business or otherwise, into a room or a virtual room and share with them on agreement with the client what the effects will be of the client's demise or other event? What results from this is you're being contacted by the other parties in the room over time. You'll get a call or an email or a LinkedIn or something going, hey, this is who I am. You might not remember me, but I was in the room with Bob, your client. I'm his son. Can we get on a call? It's not an immediate strategy. I won't give you new clients right away. It's a longer term strategy, and it's with your ideal clients. No, it's not with your single need clients. It's with the clients with whom you're going to go into a deep review. All right. I think we've covered that. Onto the kids strategy. Kids are an awesome opportunity in terms of networking because there are so many events that have to do with children that allow you to get in front of potential other people. And if you think about, I'm sure we've got a number of people that have kids of all different ages on this call, from adult children to newborns. So if you think about just a newborn phase, the groups that you might join in order to figure out what parenting is all about, that's getting in front of new people, right? You could be on a Facebook infant parenting group and someone talks about the costs of children. And you could reply in the group, well, funny enough, I wrote an article about that just a few weeks ago. Here's the link. Boom. I took a course when my kids were about 2 or 3 called Parent Educational Training. It's only in person every 2 weeks for 12 weeks, if I remember. And I was just put in front of a whole bunch of other people, similar age, similar needs, similar circumstances. And then you think about school. You've got the drop-off, you've got the pickup, you've got the PTAs, you've got the BPAs, you've got the parent-teacher stuff. I joined the SGB, the school governing body. My kids go to what we call the fee-paying public school, which is effectively a private school where the government has a lot of involvement. But it's a public school that we actually pay fees for. But sitting on this SGB just puts me in front of so many people and allows me to get in front of as many people as I could possibly want or imagine. So there are societies, affiliations, groups, all these different things within a school. There's sports, there are events where parents come and they congregate. And through your child, you can meet other people for sports, at events, for play dates. Maybe the one bullied the other, see it as an opportunity. Sort out the bullying and get a new client at the same time. Point is, get in front of potential new people. Go to all of the events, be seen, connect with people, be friendly, introduce yourself, introduce other people, be that person again. Start a WhatsApp group, get on a WhatsApp group, get on a class group, start a class group. This was actually in COVID. My kids were still in grade triple naught at a preschool. They started there. February, we started social distancing. March, we were locked down. So very slowly, as I met people, one way or another, I said, hey, we don't have the opportunity to get together. So I've created this WhatsApp group. We're going to, like, light communication on the group, but we're going to meet for a coffee once a month at the place around the corner. We're going to drop kids, go meet for a coffee. What a way to get in front of people. That group still exists, by the way. It's just a lot bigger now. What about birthday parties? Your kid has, or was, I think, even better, invited to a number of birthday parties during the year. Go to every single birthday party, meet every single person, ask them what they do, and they'll ask you what you do. Next, sports, hobbies, interests, whatever it might be. What are you passionate about? What do you love doing? What can you do that has benefits for you? Because if you can create or infiltrate a sport or a hobby or whatever it is, it's got to be something that you are or can be excited about, because you're going to be involved in this stuff. So the involvement needs to be at a deep level, involvement in the actual thing, and go to the talks, go to the award evenings, go on the tours, go to the practice, go to the races, get involved in the community, whatever it is for you and whatever that thing has to offer. As an example, I started mountain biking almost 3 years ago, and the mountain biking community is huge. You want half a decent bike, you're going to pay 100 grand. You got to pay 15,000 rand just to enter a 3-day stage race. You want Epic, you got to pay 150,000 rand just to ride Epic, never mind the bike. But even once you got the bike, you need the carrier, you need all of the kit, and then you need more kit and more kit. And then there are the breakfasts, the lunches. It's not just the ride, it's what you do after the ride. So even at a lot of the races, this is just an example, but this applies to many sports and hobbies and interests. But I could be walking around the camp at one of the 3-day stage races. People are sleeping in tents, but they have 200,000 rand bikes and 2 of them sitting around the tent, just sitting there. They have money. They have money. Most hobbies or interests or sports require money. Most. Maybe not running, but you still want a 4,000 rand pair of running shoes. But most things that people immerse themselves in, most hobbies, you think about remote control cars. I used to have one of these really fancy remote control cars. You want to go buy a remote control airplane with a turbine engine. You can start at 120,000 rand. Go hang around a hobby shop, meet people. Go buy a remote control helicopter. Hang with those people. I was on a ride beginning of last year, so a year and a bit ago. I was on a ride. I met a friend of mine there. He knew someone else. So the group of us, there were about 5 of us, decided to ride together. On the way out, I was chatting on the way, out of the car park, we just started the ride. I was chatting to the guy, and I go, what do you do? And he goes, I'm in property. So, it's a wide category. So I said, is that like bricks and mortar or equity? And he goes, like a bit of both. And he told me a bit about what he does, and we were chatting about it. Yes, he did ask me what I did. So that was great. When I got home, I went onto LinkedIn and looked the guy up, CEO of Growth Point. See what I mean? Last Saturday, as in 5 days ago, I was on a cycle lab ride. So we meet at 6 o'clock in the morning. We divide into groups, and depending on our speed and fitness levels. And one of the guys there, one of the mountain bikers, is a billionaire, someone that a lot of you will know. He was a billionaire, but he just parked his car. Don't know where. I didn't see his car. Would have liked to. Probably understated. And he just rode his bike to the start, and he was just standing there with his bike to the side of one of the groups, but he's a billionaire. All right, those are 10 picks of the day. Have another 91 plus 70. Questionable strategies are cold calling. So cold calling, I believe, had its place, and a lot of financial advisors built their businesses on cold calling. I don't think cold calling is off the table, but I don't think it should be a go-to for a few reasons. The industry is trying to professionalize itself, but there are a lot of professionals out there that hire people to call, and they're very unprofessional. And there are so many of them that everyone's getting cold called several times a day. A lot of us have Truecaller on our phone, so we can see where it's coming from. We ignore it. A lot of people don't even answer calls that come from unknown numbers, let alone private numbers. It used to be private numbers, but now if they don't recognize the number or have the number in their phone, they don't even answer it. That's what it's come to. Most cold callers are awful. There are some remarkable ones out there, and they often get poached by the people they're calling. Like, come into our business, we'll give you a sales position. But cold callers are not unique. They are very rarely the advisors themselves. They don't represent the advisors in the way that they need to, and they're phoning on behalf of a few people at the same time. A lot of advisors still hire cold callers themselves and get them, they work them full time and give them commission. It's not professional. I don't know what other word to use. It's icky. But if you want to do it, do it. You know, maybe you've got an EB department to your business and you're phoning with a very specific person, business, and value proposition in mind. You can use it there, but it's not one of our 101 strategies. Okay, so it's not off the table. I would just caution. The other is buying leads. Again, I think it's unprofessional. And if you've ever done it, or if you're even thinking about it, do a deep dive into the business that is providing the leads. Go and visit their offices. You'll find a few things. First, you'll often find that it's a child doing it, a very young person with little experience and low EQ. And to get through the clutter, you need to have a certain maturity. You'll often find that and this is a true story, through research of my own, they work through a spare room at their parents' house, which is disgusting. They buy lists illegally solicited names and numbers. And they have excuses like, no, we acquired it through someone that's selling it, but it was given through written permission. So then ask, show me the permission. Digital handwriter, show me. It is a poppy problem, and you don't want to be associated with anything of that sort. And with both cold calling and buying leads, your hit rate is similar to a knock and drop. You know, where we used to put flyers in gates or doors back in the day. It's south of 1%. And to me, that's not a good hit rate. A decent hit rate needs to be north of 90%. That's what you want to be doing, whether you're doing it yourself or you're hiring someone else or outsourcing or contracting. You want your hit rate to be north of 90%. 80% at a stretch. If 80% aren't successful, you're doing something wrong. Centers of influence, I believe, is a great strategy, but most people do it wrong. And I'm not going to go into detail on this now. I'll just give you the high level position on this. Is that an advisor will go to the likes of an accountant, a tax person, or a lawyer and negotiate that other professional give them leads being their own clients. First problem is the financial advisor is not the financial advisor to that center of influence. So they don't know how the financial advisor works. They haven't experienced the person. Why on earth would they refer? Why? It doesn't make any sense. Even if the center of influence is a client of yours, their clients probably have financial advisors. because most people have financial advisors. They bought a product, they bought life insurance one day. So why would they refer? The strategy has to be so that the arrangement is precise, it's well designed, it's agreed upon, and it is properly executed. Ideally, the center of influence needs to be your client. Second to that, if they're not your client, they at least have to have experienced you as a financial planner. So that would be through taking them through an experience as if they were a client. It could be using a dummy client. It could be using a case study, blanking out the names. But they have to experience what it is you have to offer. Or else, why would they refer you? All right. So great. You've got 10 strategies, any of which you can implement. And I only recommend picking 3 and doing that. Eventually, depending on where you are in your business, you might just have one strategy, and that's your thing. That's your way to develop new business. But what's next? You've done the exercise I spoke about in the beginning. You've looked at these 10 strategies now. What's next? You got to pick and develop your strategy or strategies. You need to implement that strategy. You need, as a person, as a leader, and or as a team, you need to develop a bias for action, because that's where it goes wrong for most financial advisors and or financial planning businesses, is that great ideas, no implementation. And the implementation has to become a culture in the business. This is the way we work. For the advisor, him or herself, it's got to become a foundation to your week. It's got to become a routine. It's got to become part of your framework. You know that every day you are spending an hour in one way or another in prospecting, every single day. You need to become obsessed. You need to become obsessed with it, because for most people that have an interest in prospecting, to develop and acquire new clients and grow their business, it's the most important thing. They'll say it. It is the most important thing for our business, or it is the most important thing for me right now in my business as a financial advisor, to grow my book, to acquire clients, to get more of the clients I want. If it is the most important thing, you need to be obsessed with it. The second last one is relentless pursuit. You need to pursue the acquisition of new clients relentlessly, which has everything to do with, we'll go to it just now, but pipeline. It's got to be, if not a full-time job, it's got to be a part-time job. The act and art and science of relationships and providing advice maybe is your full-time job. But marketing is the part-time job that supports the full-time job. It is hard work, and it has to be hard work. Can't be easy. Can't be. Hard work is going to be what grows your business. Take no prisoners. You got to be after a yes or a no. With any new client, you're after a yes or a no. You cannot be interested in gray area, because that's when they fall through the cracks, and then they become that person that said no or didn't say no. They disappeared, and a year later, you watching this webinar again and going, oh, the one strategy has got to everyone that said no. I'm going to call them up. Take no prisoners. Say to your client, I'm looking for a yes or a no. I'll help you get to the one or the other. I'm hoping it's a yes. But if you're on the fence, let's talk about it. Coach your clients to a yes. And if it's a no, it's fine, but at least you know. In theory, it's simple. Come up with your strategy and implement. In practicality, it's not so simple, but that's why the work is hard. So you need a well-developed value proposition and target market, because you need to align them, and they move forward together to building your business. You need goals, just like you talk to your clients about their goals. The financial planning is about helping them realize the life and lifestyle that they want. It may very specifically be retirement, but the advice that they give them is in pursuit and satisfaction and attainment of their goals, is it not? It is exactly the same for you. You have to have your personal goals, which are supported by business goals, which are supported by, in this case, everyone being here, your business development goals, your prospecting goals. So the goals have to come with this will never change, activity. Goals have to come with activity. You've got to be working at them. You got to be, if it's prospecting, right? Your personal goals, your business goals, your prospecting goals have to be supported by activity. You got to be doing the work. You got to get your mind right. Prospecting is not easy. Even if you've got a formula, like I'm doing a webinar every week, you still got to get your mind right, because you got to design it, you got to communicate it, you got to run it, you got to present it. You got to be in the right frame of mind. How do you do that? How do you get your mind right? How do you go about your day in pursuit of new clients when you're going through a divorce? We work in three worlds now. We work in an in-person world, a digital world, and a virtual world, which is often a hybrid world where you do both. If you're not comfortable with any of those, get comfortable. Get comfortable, because you have to operate in all three. And then when you're comfortable, get good. Your virtual office, this Zoom room, cannot be looking up at your nostril, cannot be blurry, cannot be rubbish sound, weak light. You can't be in silhouette. As you would create a professional environment in your office for your clients to come and visit you, create a professional digital environment. If you have purely digital clients, if you can meet them in person, absolutely do it. If you live and work in Joburg and you travel to Cape Town, line up those meetings with your Cape Town clients. There's a magic formula to all of this. Approach, connect, invite. The approach is the strategy. It's those 10 things we spoke about. Connection is the human element, and the invitation is basically moving from the chit chat into the business conversation. The pipeline is everything. The pipeline is spoken about by every manager, but it is everything. The pipeline needs to be something that you look at several times a day. And this needs to be up to date, it needs to be populated, it needs to be accurate, and it needs to be designed to be a tool that supports you. You need an activity tracker, because if you've got your goals, your prospecting goals, they need to be pursued with activity. And the goals even become more visceral. How many first meetings am I having this week? How many second meetings am I having this week? What if someone died and one of the first meetings disappeared? Do I let it go, or do I make up for that the next day? Well, they're dead. It doesn't matter. It was your goal. What are you going to do? Real stories, by the way. And you need to hold yourself accountable and or have other people hold you accountable to it. And get past those excuses. We have a document with 15 excuses that financial advisors come up with, and reasons why they're not excuses. We also have a document with a lot of the objections that clients come up with and how to respond to those objections. You can come up with your own as a team, get together, share all the objections you've heard, and come up with responses so that you have the responses. You don't have to think about them. They're automatic. Okay. That's mostly it from us. Just to let you know, we do have the online course. We have full day boot camps for anyone, and we have mini boot camps, which is usually one business, where the business puts 8 to 12 people in a room and we go about it for 4 hours. Feels like a bit of an abrupt ending after all of that, but our timing is good with 3 minutes to go. Thank you everyone for being here today. And if you are watching this for the first time as a recorded version, thank you for logging on and spending the hour and a half with us. Prospecting, to reiterate what was said at the beginning, is tough for most people. It's tough because it's personal, because although we're selling a service, we're also selling ourselves. And when we get rejected or ignored, we take it personally. But if we are prepared enough, both mentally and emotionally, and in addition, strategically, through the design of the formula, which starts with approach, which is the strategy, the idea, the way in which you're going to get in front of potential new clients, you will be ready. You will be ready. But you got to do the work, and the work is a lot. The work is where you dedicate time and you make the effort. That is going to be the success. Prospecting cannot be an afterthought. It can't be when you have time. You need to carve out time and have it as part of every single day and every single week, and then you'll make it work. That's it from me. And on behalf of David, thank you again.